Good morning. How is everybody doing? I want to hit on a little bit about uncertainty. Now, if you've watched this tropical storm, it's kind of gone what looks like where it wants to go. And after it goes back out in the Gulf, there's a cone from North Florida, I think it even goes into the Panhandle, all the way down to Naples. That's a pretty big cone of uncertainty. I think I know our country's been in a lot of uncertainty, not just this past year, but for many years. And right now especially. We don't know when COVID will end. We don't know when the vaccine will come out, although we're told it's soon. We don't know, although we see the numbers on TV for the news, we don't know when this election is going to end. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what our allies or our enemies are going to do or try to do, or what they're thinking in this process. We don't know if after the election is certified, if they're going to have to drag whoever, President Trump, if he loses in this certification, because the election isn't over until they certify it. The states have to certify it. But there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know if Biden does get in the office, what that's going to look like. We don't even know what the Senate's going to look like. Kind of have a good idea, but Georgia's got to have a runoff election. But it looks like for both. We have no idea. It looks like Alaska is leaning Republican, but they only have 50% of the vote in. There's so many things we don't know. And it's upsetting to many, many people. Our psalm this Sunday is Psalm 90. And if you're looking at Psalm at the beginning, Lord, you have been our dwelling place through all generations. Well, this psalm is looking back. If you look in 89, there was a lot of uncertainty going on in Psalm 89. In Psalm 89, you have let's see here. Okay, you have in verse 19, God's promises to David. Okay, that's good. David's everlasting kingship in 19 through 29. His perpetual dynasty from verse 30 to 37. And then it's when you get into verse 38 through 45, unfulfilled promises to David, God's unfulfilled promises, God's devastation of David's kingdom, God's elevation of David's enemies, elevating the enemies and letting Israel be captive by Babylon. And then from verses 46 to 51, you have laments. Uncertainty. The same uncertainty that we have today. Let's go through this psalm a little bit. Lord, you have been our dwelling place through all generations, before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the whole world. From everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You turn people back to dust, saying, return to dust, you mortals. 1,000 years in your sight are like a day that has just gone by, or like a watch in the night. Yet you sweep people away in the sleep of death. They are like the new grass of the morning. In the morning it springs up new, but by evening it is dry and withered. We are consumed by your anger and terrified by your indignation. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your presence. All our days pass away under your wrath. We finish our years with a moan. Our days may come to 70 or 80 years if our strength endures. Yet the best of them are but trouble and sorrow, for they quickly pass and we fly away. If only we knew the greater power of your anger. Your wrath is as great as the fear that is your due. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. So, think about this psalm. Think about what is it saying? What's going on here? You know, talking about we're like the new grass of the morning that springs up. We're not here very long. We don't have life very long. In the beginning, before the mountains were born, creation. Before you brought forth the world, creation. Return to dust, you mortals. You know, creation to our death, returning back to the earth. But it's even more than that, because the psalm is this community lamenting, but it's God's the way God measures years and we measure years are totally different, completely different. And I think that first, Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all the ages. Well, you should be still our dwelling place. Our life is fragile and we need His grace. All our unfulfilled desires, I'm talking good desires, not sin, and God's all unfilled promises that have not been fulfilled yet are suspended. They're with the character of God. We are waiting here. We don't know how long. We don't know when Jesus will return. But yet we worry just like the Israelites, just like David's people. We hide our sin just like David did, thinking it will go away, and it doesn't. And what really is an issue is when our worry and our anger, when we don't know what's going to happen, divides us. That is not good. When our worry and our anger causes us to kind of insinuate that someone isn't a Christian. In Jeremiah 1, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. He knew us. He knows every hair on our head. Before He formed us, He set us apart. He appoints. In Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you. I know the plan. God knows the plans. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. But yet when there is suffering, we worry. When he tells us in his word. Now maybe it hasn't been fulfilled yet. But we need to wait on the Lord. In 2 Corinthians, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. It is not in our strength, it is in our weakness. We are servants. We are to serve one another, and especially those within our church, caring for one another. May God bless you, and the rains have started. Actually, they started last night. Whoa. I gotta go inside because I'm getting wet. God bless you, and doesn't look like this is going to be too bad, so just a little water. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.